is this just fantasy? Absolutely. This is Realms of Tolkien, Images of Middle-earth. So this is a second book in a, I guess, set of art books that focus on art inspired by the works of Tolkien. I've already talked about the first one. I did like 3 or 4 videos on this one, Tolkien's World. And I'll likely have to do the same with this. Although, one thing I will note is that this book is not as conveniently organized based upon Tolkien's works. It's kind of just random on the inside. And that's also the case with style and medium. And I think that's why they call it Images of Middle-earth rather than the early one, which is Paintings of Middle-earth. So I think that was all specifically paintings. And here there are definitely paintings, but there's also illustrations and kind of mixed media maybe here and there. But I'm very excited to talk about this because I love the world of Tolkien. I love The Lord of the Rings, of course. And I think it's just a joy to talk about it because I think I mentioned in the earlier one, aside from 1.5 maybe, or partial, there aren't really any comic adaptations of Tolkien. And there's a Hobbit, and then there is another one that one day I hope to talk about that is very interesting. But other than that, it is something that really exists in film format, in novel format, and in illustration format. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. I'm super inspired by the works of Tolkien, and if you don't believe me, you can check out my comic, Sidequesters. And even if it doesn't initially look like it's inspired by the artistry that Tolkien brought to his work, I can tell you that I'm as inspired as I can be in crafting a believable world that has a deep history, with characters, with rich connections to not only their world, but each other. And it is absolutely my intent to tell a story that is as deep as I possibly can make it, that also features a giant lizard man with a big golden hammer. So, if you're interested, this is the first complete story arc, first 8 issues in a single volume. You can buy it on my website. And I also, to add on to the world, just like Tolkien has in multiple ways, here are short stories in my Haxan anthologies of stories of magic users that are mostly on the dark and kind of creepy side. Each of these is 60 pages of short stories, and you can buy them on my website as well. So, and if you just want to give them a read, check them out on Global Comics. Here we have the man himself, and a little biography about him, and just had to give it a pause just to give the man some respect. So with the artists that we're going to see in this volume, we're going to see many repeats of the Paintings of Middle-earth book. So we're starting off right here with Inger Edelfelt doing an interesting rendition of Treebeard. So something I really love about this is I love how tree he is. You know, it looks nice mossy beard. I believe this is a moment inside his little like cave house, whatever. And he's got a big Treebeard cup. What I find interesting is that his face is very tree-like. You know, even his beard is even tree-like, and all these cool branches coming off of his head. But his hands are pretty not tree-like, not knotty. He even has nails. Not even a criticism at all, because this is a really nice painting. I really love this border around it. It's very kind of classic illustration. It's just an interesting choice, I think, on his part. But yeah, or her part, sorry. So this is definitely making use of the large format of this book right here, of Gandalf's escape from Orthanc, as he's riding here. And this is a very interesting rendition of Orthanc. This very stony tower. It almost seems like a bizarre rock formation. And so, of course, the artist is Fletcher, just Fletcher. And what's clear to me is when I look at this Gandalf up here, that is definitely someone sitting for the painting, because it's just the quality of the light captured on the figure just looks too observed. So I feel like it's somebody was posed for it, maybe like a photo or something like that. I don't think they sat for it necessarily, and then they were painted. I also think it's a fascinating choice to make it a American bald eagle for Gwahir rather than just rather any other kind of eagle. But yeah, seemingly very an American Gandalf here. And also, I noticed these little kind of gauntlets on Gwahir, and he's got like a little set of reins, I don't know, is he got a saddle up there? I don't know. Very interesting choice. Love this purple sky, and again, this comes from the era, just like all of these illustrations. They come from the era that's pre-film adaptation. Some of these maybe even pre-animated adaptation of these works, because in the early 70s and mid 70s, we got a couple of animated adaptations of Lord of the Rings, and a bizarre Hobbit it's 30 minutes long or maybe an hour long, that was made just to steal the rights away from Tolkien, in the early 60s or something like that. Anyway, we're not talking about that because it doesn't matter. And I imagine that those animated adaptations really didn't have much to do at all with the influence on other artists and their adaptations of the work, or their renderings of the work. And so this is purely from the mind of Fletcher. And I think it's fascinating, the choices they make. Here's a great one. This is Nicholas Bayrachny doing his rendition of Gollum. Look at this Gollum. This is a cool Gollum. And I love the reflection. I love his little boat, because he is described as having a little boat, which I always thought was interesting. Is in the little, before the riddling game, and he paddles out. He's on a little boat, and here it's literally a boat and not just kind of like a log or something that he's on. And his green eyes, and he looks kind of like a messed up kind of elf, or I guess goblin or something like that, because prior to certain visions of Gollum, it was kind of well, what is he? And it was more open, and I really like this, and I just like the quality of the painting. It's it looks like a nice kind of combination of watercolor, and I don't know, there's this nice texture to it. And again, really good use of the large format here. And here we have a ringer, folks. This is Gandalf and the Balrog by John Howe. So John Howe, he's one of the people who worked on the films, being a production designer there, and rightfully so. And here's his Gandalf fighting with the Balrog, and love this flaming sword. This mean-looking Balrog, not as flaming and demonic as the film adaptation got with it, but still a big scary monster that our wizard has to fight. Love the atmosphere in this painting, just the glow about it, and just the handling of all the this kind of smoky roiling bits. And here we get like parts of his wings coming out here. He's massive, but we have this powerful wizard going toe to toe with him. Oh yeah, this awesome little glowing sword, and these little magic bits that they throw in to these paintings on the staffs and such. Like it's definitely evocative of other fantasy things that get even more lasery and beamy, but I just like the subtlety of it. Of all the wizards, Gandalf's the one to beat. Sorry, Harry Potter. And I'm wondering if the name here is Lode Klaus or Klaus. Either way, this is an awesome illustration of the Nazgul. Very ominous, very creepy, and just iconic even. And these are the Nazgul. Yeah, it's so intimidating. And yeah, like you saw, if you're walking along and you see that up on a hill, like what can you do? Yeah, just a wonderful rendering. So simple, and yet it's eerie. Like look at it, look at the little specks in their eyes, and not really fussing about the detail of their costuming, because it doesn't matter in this case. It is just about this eerie intimidation here, and I, for one, just love it. I think it's amazing. Here we are, jumping back to the Fellowship here with Carol Emery Phoenix, who was definitely one of the artists that we saw in the last volume. And yeah, it's a lovely illustration of Frodo waking up and seeing Gandalf there, and Gandalf's well and free as well. And yeah, just a nice little illustration here. We have an interior of Rivendell, which is, it's such an interesting. I mean, it's a great moment to illustrate because it's him waking up. He's on the verge of death, and he sees Gandalf, and Gandalf's happy to see him. It's a interesting like moment. It's a good moment, but I feel like it's gotta kill you if you're illustrating the Fellowship of the Ring, and it's like it's a scene in Rivendell, but you don't get to draw Rivendell. You're drawing a bedroom in Rivendell, but you still get this this cool like window pattern here. They even put like a little glaze right there, so you can tell that it's like a closed window. And you can see a little bit hinted out there, like the natural world out there. But yeah, very very tame bedspread. But then again, I'm thinking about it as an artist, like, do I want to have to not only paint a design on this bedspread, but then also deform it around all these wrinkles and stuff. So rather than that, just get the wrinkles right, because those wrinkles look good. Yeah. Also, his hair's a little red. Nice, very nice fine detail of that wood beam right there. That's really nice. Another ringer, folks. Ted Naismith doing a little bit of the Two Towers here, going through the dead marshes. I gotta love these skeletons in here. And yeah, I love those reflections. And we get our Frodo and Sam here, and a great Gollum. Look at that Gollum. He's got a little tunic on, like most of the time they give him. And I love this pale sun and like that foggy light. This is great as far as like atmosphere and everything goes, and just how fine these plants are, this grass. Yeah, not overdoing it with the deadness of the dead marshes, which probably shows a lot of restraint. Yeah, just great. Here's another great designer, great artist that worked on the film adaptations. This is Alan Lee, and another Fellowship illustration. This is also another take on the Black Riders, but specifically focusing on their steeds, their terrifying steeds. And this delicate atmosphere that he puts into all of his illustrations, like this, just how foggy and misty and mysterious it is. And yeah, these things that they look, I mean, they're horse-like, but they aren't horses. There's something uncanny about it. They have maybe like armor on their faces or something like that, but either way, there's something unnatural about them, and I think that's deliberate and really wonderful. All right, here's an amazing artist here, Michael Kaluta. So Michael Kaluta is he's just a great illustrator, as you can see, but he's also a great comic artist and just a master of many crafts. And here we have this gorgeous illustration of Legolas. And yeah, just Legolas drawing the bow of Galadriel. So we get this amazing design on the bow itself. I love the texture and the background here. All these great trees bursting out. Like, I love the angle of this illustration. He's got a great design on his quiver. Like, and the only thing that we don't see that tells us that this is an elf is his ears, but they're covered. And also, it's interesting to see a dark-haired Legolas, because he's kind of been codified for many people as having light hair or blonde hair. But yeah, I just like this. I feel like the dark hair really suits this illustration. It makes the illustration better, because I feel like if he had light hair, his head would kind of just disappear into the background, and you wouldn't be able to see it very well, or it wouldn't be as strong an image, because we have this darkness here, this light coming in of his arm and his bow cutting through it, and yeah, we need something dark here, and rather than giving him like a hat or a helmet or something like that, you just give him darker hair. But yeah, gorgeous rendering, gorgeous. Love this. Just talking about Legolas. Here's Ted Naismith doing the Two Towers, and we have Legolas, we have Gimli, and we have Aragorn. And that's something that's interesting, is we haven't seen in this collection any real illustrations of Aragorn until this point. We've seen Gandalf, we've seen Gollum, seen some hobbits and dark riders, we've seen Legolas already, but now we're seeing Gimli, who isn't drawn enough in some of these old illustrations, and Aragorn. Aragorn looking not very distinct. Legolas, there's something about him that looks kind of uncanny, kind of like, makes you think that he's an elf or something. But he just looks like stock standard dude. And even his outfit's kind of not very distinct. I do like this Gimli. He's keeping up with Aragorn more than Legolas is. And also, yeah, nice plains here, great atmosphere, and these clouds and the rocks there. But yeah, it's a cool illustration, and of course Ted Naismith's great at what he does. But it's not as distinct as I would have expected. Return to Alan Lee, and we return to Rivendell. And this is Fellowship, I think. And yeah, wow. I mean, that is the Rivendell of the films, quite frankly. And I know I keep talking about the films, but it's hard not to, because they just loom large in my mind, and I'm sure many people's minds, many fans of fantasy, fans of Tolkien, and that's okay. That's okay. There's many people I know who their introduction to Tolkien was the films because the style of the writing of the books wasn't their cup of tea, and I think I don't know. I'm not precious about it. I think it's fine. I love the books, but then again, I love like kind of like legends and sagas. But anyway, to this drawing, I don't know what to say because it's just gorgeous. Like, look at the mistiness coming up from this water. It glows, but like it's like it's mist catching light. There's even mist coming up here off these mountains, and in the back, there's smoke coming from this house. You know that Elrond's home. Yeah, and there's also this delectable detail here in those rocks and trees. Just an expert rendering. Here we go, back to The Hobbit with Capuchin Mazil doing a rendering of Bilbo and Gollum doing their little riddle game. Wild, huh? I think it's fun. It's a fun rendering. It's like a fun little like watercolor. I like the outfit that Bilbo's wearing. Nice little like details on his knife. And I like this version of Sting actually because it looks like a knife because that's what it is. It feels like a sword to him because he's little. But I like that they gave it the shape of a knife. I think that's a clever detail. But yeah, we have a very troubling looking Gollum who's got this crazy pointed skull. He's got more of an outfit here than usual, but like and Bilbo's not having it. Yeah, it's a fun little illustration, I think. Now we've come to the unfinished tales. And an oft illustrated figure here, Ulmo, Lord of the Waters. What is Ulmo, Lord of the Waters? He's like Neptune, he comes from that mold, and yeah, Tuor and Ulmo is a very common like illustration for like unfinished tales, Silmarillion kind of stuff, and this is John Howe just really drawing the hell out of it. I love this helmet. Makes me think of like Numenor, which I think is appropriate because I'm talking to this sea god. Also, he's got like kind of fish scale looking maybe armor or just maybe his skin, and he's got it on his legs too. Love this. It's not a trident, it's a sextant. That's not right. But you know what I mean. It's got 6 points. It's not instead of 3. And this dude here with this incredibly long sword. The sword that's almost as tall as he is. Wow. Yeah. And yeah, just great atmosphere and everything. Yeah, with John Howe, I feel like you're guaranteed 2 things. A really good rendering, but also a very interesting character designs. I think he's expert at it, which is why he was employed for the movies. Here we have Mara Boldy and the Swan Ship of Lorien. And yeah, this is a really gorgeous drawing. I really love this. Love the kind of border within borders here and how like the border kind of fades up into these trees and then these trees form another border and yeah, very kind of medieval manuscript stylization with these spirals and crisscrossing lines. It's really gorgeous. And yeah, we have, I'm sure, the lady herself. Her harp. It's very soft. It's very sweet, which is I feel like appropriate for like the Swan Ship of Lorien. I think and here we have these like beautiful trees in the back. Yeah. Can't forget that this is part of it as well. Everybody loves the battle scenes and all that stuff, but this beautiful appreciation of beauty is essential to it as well. It is what they are fighting for. So here we have a little fascinating illustration by Core Block, and it's described as Frodo's vision of the passage from Fellowship, and this is his kind of vision of the darkness to come. You have like these little orc dudes, spiders, battles, and a black tower. Yeah. This is such an interesting illustration. I think the style is really unique. And it's also an interesting moment to depict. That it's not it's a vision of many things, and incorporating these many things into it, I think it's an interesting challenge to put forth. And it feels ominous, which is as it should. So excellent work. Here's Tony Galudi, and he is illustrating for us Balin's tomb in Moria. I mean, that's an epic tomb. I know, I feel like there's lots of gathering space. You know, you're not gonna catch them with a maximum occupancy problem. But yeah, I just love his little tomb right there, and it's just massive. I guess it's just showing the scale of Moria, but holy cow. And there's just lots of empty space. Really cool, like these little designs on the walls there, and this great shaft of light, and even the miniaturization of our figures. It's all really nice. Yeah. Very well lit in Moria, I will say. Okay, here we have Luca Michelucci doing Gandalf and Pippin. So we have little Pippin here on the front here. We have Gandalf leading the way. Those clouds are magnificent. Absolutely magnificent clouds. They look real. It's amazing. And of course up front we have Gandalf here. He's got his glittering glammed ring right here. And I love like the purples in his cape here. The lightning strike back here. Bed of flowers, and Shadowfax here. No, he's riding bareback, folks. No saddle for Gandalf. And also, he's got a really cool cane. A really cool walking stick. It's got this like bird head on it. I love that. I'm into it. Super into it. And Gandalf's he's all business. And Pippin's got huge feet. That is all for this edition of Realms of Tolkien. Please check back later when we continue our journey through these images of Middle-earth.